Welcome back to KPReacts, your home of internet reactions, and today we are reacting to some of the worst neighbours around the world. I've had my own experience with terrible neighbours, everything from kind of verbal abuse to just being really petty. So let's have a look at this video and let's see if we can find some really bad neighbours, and hopefully your neighbours are better than these guys.
While most of us have nice neighbors that only annoy us every once in a while, some people have neighbors that just don't seem to know how to be.
Can you imagine someone just literally goes out of their way to pay a gardener to do your hedge? I love someone to do like a giant penis hedge or something. That would be so funny.
Or even decent human beings. At the end of this video, you'll probably want to thank your neighbors for not making this list. Unless they did, in which case,
asshole.
Tough luck. Some people like to keep their own lawns trimmed. Some people like it when other people keep their lawns trimmed. And then there are the special few that will take this desire to the extreme and burn someone's house down for not keeping their lawn as short as they thought it should be.
What?
That's exactly what happened when Philip Roger Bennett told his neighbor Marty to cut his lawn or else. But when Marty ignored him, he actually burned his house down. Marty and his daughter barely escaped with their lives, all because Marty was okay with the length of his lawn and his neighbor was not. Sometimes it's hard to know which neighbor.
That guy needs to take a chill pill in life. The rest of his life must be very calm and chill if he's getting that vexed about
It's
grass.
worse when one does something and the other retaliates with an equally awful response. However, this case has a clear winner for the biggest jerk award, and that would be the people filming the video. Apparently, their neighbor blocked their shared driveway, then left for the day. For some reason, they decided that the proper course of action after a couple warnings was to destroy his car with their truck.
They ran it over. Oh my days. They bought different cars to destroy it. That's so much effort.
This is a great example of a harmless prank that doesn't take things too far when neighbors have been annoying. After this guy's neighbor kept him up all night with their loud music, he decides to get some revenge with a smartphone app that allows him to turn off their TV from his house.
No. That's incredible. Can you imagine just chilling there, just sitting back watching TV?
To people destroying other people's property.
It just turns
These
out
lovely neighbors weren't fans of the hallway security camera, so they took to trying to destroy it with an axe and spraying over the lens. Relax, ladies. It's there to keep you safe. This guy just wouldn't give up his dream.
This guy looks like one miserable mother trucker. Look at him. Turn your frown upside down, mate. Turn it upside down.
Of driving his neighbors out of their house. It started like so many other neighborly disagreements, centering on a parking issue. But from there, it escalated quickly. Jeffrey Wright started things off by throwing dog feces at his neighbors and into their yard.
Oh my God.
When that didn't work, he aimed massive floodlights at their house all night long. Then he attempted to run them off the road in his car. When that just landed him in prison, he hired a hitman to take them out. Fortunately for his neighbors, the plot to take them out was discovered before it was carried out, and this bad neighbor went back to prison, where he hopefully was a bit nicer to his neighbors there. Here's another example of someone that refused to quit when they should have. Jean Wilding used tactics that were so effective some of her neighbors had to be treated for depression. She dumped broken glass, oil, and dead animals on their driveway. She also kept an eye on...
The thing is, these people are just deranged mentally. Like, genuinely, they have a problem. Like, this isn't a normal thing to do if you have a disagreement with somebody.
Cameras towards their house and blasted offensive music in the middle of the night. If that wasn't enough, she also used the old shining floodlights into the neighbor's house all night trick. But she was the one that suffered in the...
Bruh, look at her face! Look at that. Whose face looks like that? I can't even do a face like that even if I wanted to.
After her neighbors filed enough complaints, she ended up paying over $100,000 in damages. That just goes to show you that being a horrible neighbor doesn't pay any better than crime. Probably worse than a neighbor that's openly hostile is one that appears to be extremely generous and then ends up stealing your identity. That's unfortunately what happened in one neighborhood when Anthony James David invited some neighbors to hang out for the evening. Everything on him. He took them to a Buccaneers football game, covered their restaurant and bar tabs, and overall was the best neighbor ever. Then their credit card statements arrived in the mail and they found out he had stolen their identities and been charging everything to their accounts. It makes you think twice if your neighbor seems a little too nice. Some
Nothing's
neighbors
for
are a
free,
little
kids.
more
Nothing is
passive-aggressive,
free.
which keeps things interesting for everyone else in the neighborhood, like David Muscat. When he got complaints about illegally removing trees from his property, his response was to let his neighbors know what he thought about their complaints by carving a hand out of the removed trees with
These are the best ones, because it's genuinely like so petty. He's gone out of his way to just do this. It's
middle finger raised. This guy went to great lengths to deliver that same message to his ex-wife. They got divorced because she was cheating on him, and he got revenge by moving into the house next to her boyfriend's and investing $7,000 in a bronze statue of a hand flipping a bird. This horrible neighbor slapped his disabled neighbor in the face with a fish. Is there really anything else to be said about the situation? I mean, his neighbor was a quadriplegic, and this dude hit him with a fish. A fish! He's not nicer with any of his other neighbors either, as he's been known to curse people out, choke them, and chase them down the street with a chainsaw. Yikes. You know when you get a song stuck in your head so you play it over 4,000 times in a row? No judgment here, but if you're going to do that, make sure your neighbors aren't stuck listening to it too.
When Alexander Alexandrov's neighbor listened to Angels by Robbie Williams that many times, he decided enough.
I'm loving angels instead. What a banging tune. I wouldn't play it 4,000 times, but what a banging tune.
Was enough, so he went over to his house and stabbed him to death.
What?
Maybe his neighbors played the music from these speakers?
This next one is both heartbreaking and downright disgusting.
Oh
the mother of an autistic boy found this note on her door from another mom in the neighborhood. The note is absolutely horrible, as it talks about how her special needs son is a nuisance, an idiot kid, and retarded. It ends by suggesting that she should euthanize him. You couldn't make a list long enough for all the things this awful woman deserves for writing that note.
Nah, this is just scummy people.
When the police and SWAT team showed up at this man's house, it ended up setting off a bizarre set of circumstances. He blamed his neighbor's mother for tipping off police and decided to get revenge. He threw dead animals on their yard, burned things on his property that sent noxious smoke into their yard and house, and hung a noose in their yard.
The frightened woman installed video cameras to protect herself and watched him pace along the property line every night, never crossing into their yard so she doesn't have a reason to call the police.
Oh my god. He's like creeping around.
This guy may win the award for Passive-Aggressive Neighbor of the Year. Clearly Bob wanted his neighbor to paint his fence, and he did, but I have a feeling Bob won't appreciate the paint any more than the unfinished fence. Picking up dog poop is annoying enough when it's your own dog, but at least then it's your choice. So when your neighbors keep letting their dogs poop on your yard, it's no surprise that it gets real old real fast. If you find yourself in that situation, just do what this guy did and put up a sign threatening to slap their dog poop onto their head. Then come back and let me know how that works out for you. This guy is labeled as the world's worst neighbor, and there's even a YouTube channel dedicated to him called Neighbor is a Jerk. In this particular clip, you can see him blocking his neighbor's car with his golf cart as he tried to claim that his neighbor's driveway is his property. The man filming the clip keeps calm and collected, but his neighbor clearly hates him.
Well, get out of here. You're blocking out my assets, so I can't get to the lake.
So you're saying this dock on my property is blocking your...
Having it all removed.
Okay.
All your junk.
This picture is, but it's probably
These ones are great. The hedge ones are fantastic.
Example of a passive-aggressive
I'd love to have a
neighbor
hedge and be
using
able to
natural
just like
resources
do
to
something
express
obnoxious with it.
themselves. This time it's in the form of a shrub mooning their neighbor. Oh, nature.
That doesn't look real though. This picture does not look real. Like this guy looks like he's just been photoshopped in.
If you love to subtly annoy your neighbor, then consider leveraging the power of Google Maps. Simply carve aggressive phrases into your field and voila,
That's great, because that stays there for so long.
Next time they try to view their property from above. You'll have to comment below to help me decide who's worse. The couple pictured here throwing bottles at their neighbor's drone, or their neighbor that took the pictures by flying his drone over their backyard. Without knowing all of the details, it's honestly a tough call. This guy clearly had no idea what the repercussions would be when he decided to steal his neighbor's reindeer decorations from his front yard. But after he was caught on their security cameras taking their Christmas decorations, his neighbor set up this incredible display to honor him. I can't say that I've ever
Don't steal children's Christmas parents. What kind of petty thief are
someone
you?
to get robbed. but I kind of hope this thief goes after their Easter decorations so they can have him painted in a life-size Last Supper painting. I don't know for sure if this was caused by an angry neighbor or if it was an act of God. Either way, a giant cactus falling through your cinder block wall is a situation I would not want to find myself in. It makes me wonder if they have other massively destructive plants their neighbors should be worried about. If you're paying extra for something you don't need, like a parking spot, and you have an annoying neighbor, you'll have to try this. This is totally acceptable. After all, that cozy coop is worth a lot of money, so it definitely needs a safe parking spot.
And therefore use it for whatever
Most people in apartment buildings have left
trash outside. That's true. If you're paying for it, you do whatever it is you want to do with it.
It's a lot easier to do that than take it downstairs the next time you leave. But this guy takes a totally different approach. He just keeps piling up bags of trash in the hallway until he overhears people complaining about them or the smell. Then and only then does he get motivated enough to take them outside where they belong.
That's so stupid.
The beginning of this story is so nice that it's a tragedy that has such a bad ending. The person that took this picture helped out his elderly neighbor by mowing his lawn. 2 days later, the neighbor next to him mowed his lawn exactly up to the property line, leaving this awkward patch of grass in the middle.
This little mohican of grass.
Principles are too strong to justify doing the right thing. You know that kid in your elementary class that always told the teacher everything that everyone did wrong? That kid grew up to be Larry. And Larry liked to call the city on his neighbors so often that one of them put up a sign to let him know that he had a building permit for the work he was doing.
Those people are the worst. The ones that are like just snitches. They don't have no business getting involved. But they'll just go in and be like, oh, that person is doing something wrong. Or those people are the worst people. There's a place reserved in a very dark place for people like that. This guy's neighbor got a package. A very interestingly shaped package. It's one of those things that you just really don't want to know about your neighbor. But now that you do, you can't stop thinking about it. And the more you think about it, the more you wish they had been there to claim the packages so you didn't have to see it. What would you do if your drunk neighbor threw a bar of soap onto your balcony in the middle of the night? Most people would probably either just keep it or throw it back. But then there's this neighbor who took the time to carve a message into the soap before throwing it back. But I'm not so sure that was a neighbor. Here's a series of clips filmed from a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's so much I could start explaining about these neighbors, but I just don't have the time to get into all of it. If they're not selling drugs, they're definitely doing something shady by constantly hiding and removing a magnetic case from their wheel well. Jeez. WWE.
Here you can see them sneakily stealing their neighbor's spare wheel right out from beneath their truck. It doesn't get much bolder than that, to steal from your neighbor while they're sleeping in their home, knowing there's a camera on you. Now I'll leave you with this positive image of two neighbors that clearly have very different views of the world, yet live in peace anyway. It's certainly nice to see after knowing what some of the people on our list were capable of. So which neighbor did you think was the worst?
Wow. You know what really struck me most about that video though? They were all in America. I'm sure there are some terrible neighbors all around the world. So make sure you leave a comment and let me know if your neighbors are terrible. Or actually, let me know if your neighbors are great. It'd be great to hear some stories about some neighbors that are actually good. But that's it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.